When we speak of achievement, of reaching our highest potential, we often overlook the very first spark that sets the entire process in motion. That spark is conception, the ability of the mind to generate an idea, to envision a future that does not yet exist, to imagine something greater than the current reality. This, at its core, is the power of imagination, and it's not a trivial power. It is the birthplace of everything we have ever created, from the wheel to space travel, from a handwritten letter to the internet. It all began in the unseen chambers of the human mind. You see, nothing in this world is achieved externally without first being achieved internally. This idea, this fundamental law of the mind, is often underestimated because it is invisible. It's easy to value the tangible, the building, the invention, the business, the book, but every one of those started as something intangible, a mental image, a fleeting thought, a moment of inspiration that someone dared to hold on to long enough to make it real. Napoleon Hill, whose work inspired the very title of this speech, wrote with clarity and conviction about the idea that thoughts are things. That phrase might sound poetic, but it is, in fact, a philosophical and psychological truth. When the mind conceives an idea with emotional intensity and focused attention, that idea begins to take on substance. It gains psychological weight, becomes a blueprint, an internal pattern that, if nurtured, will shape behavior, influence decisions, and move the individual steadily toward its materialization. Think for a moment about the role imagination plays in the life of a child. Give a child a stick and they will turn it into a sword, a spaceship, or a microphone. They do not need permission to imagine. They do not question whether what they envision is realistic. They simply conceive it and act as if it is real. Now ask yourself, when did we stop doing that? When did we begin to filter our ideas through fear, doubt, or societal approval? The tragedy is not that we stop imagining, it's that we stop believing our imagination matters. But imagination is not fantasy. It's the architecture of all reality. It's not the same as wishful thinking. True imagination, when coupled with belief and action, is creation in motion, and it is available to all of us. It is the most democratic of all resources. No matter where you were born, what you look like, or what your current circumstances are, your mind is capable of conceiving ideas that have the power to change not just your life, but the lives of others. Psychologically speaking, this process taps into our brain's unique capacity for visualization and goal-directed behavior. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself based on experience, and intention means that when you repeatedly focus on an idea, especially one tied to a strong emotional desire, your brain begins to align your perceptions, your habits, and your decisions with that idea. You literally begin to see opportunities you didn't notice before. This isn't mysticism, it's biology. The conception of an idea alters your mental filter, what psychologists call the reticular activating system, allowing you to tune into the signals, resources, and paths that lead to its realization. But here's the key. Conception without clarity is like planting a seed in rocky soil. You must be specific. Vague hopes do not inspire focused action. The mind, like any great architect, needs detail. What exactly do you want to build? What would it look like? How would it feel to live inside it? This is where the imagination must be trained, not just wild and untamed, but harnessed, disciplined. Not so much to restrict it, but to channel its energy with precision and purpose. Every world-changing innovation began with someone who took their imagination seriously, who treated their internal vision not as a fantasy, but as a responsibility. They understood that if they could conceive it, they had already taken the first, most crucial step. And so can you. The conception of an idea is not passive. It's not idle daydreaming. It's a call to respond. To imagine something greater than what exists is to be invited into the role of creator, not consumer. The moment you allow your mind to reach beyond its current limits, to conceive of something bold, something better, you set in motion a process that, when supported by belief and action, becomes unstoppable. So I leave you with this. Never underestimate the quiet power of an idea born in your own mind. It may seem small, it may even feel impossible, but if it is yours, if it came to you, then it came for a reason. Nurture it, believe in it, and act on it, because whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Now, once an idea has been conceived in the mind, once that initial spark of imagination takes form, there is a second force that must come into play, or else the idea fades, collapses, disappears into the fog of forgotten dreams. So that force is belief, and make no mistake, belief is not a wish. It is not passive. It is not hoping something might happen. Belief is the deliberate decision to trust in the power and possibility of an idea, even before any evidence exists to confirm it. Belief is the fuel that moves the idea forward from imagination to execution. You see, the world is full of people with brilliant ideas. Every day, people think of ways to solve problems, start businesses, write books, change systems. The difference between the few who follow through and the many who don't almost always comes down to belief. If you don't believe your vision is possible, you will not act on it consistently. You will abandon it at the first sign of resistance, and resistance always comes. Belief is what allows you to endure it. This is where we move into the deeper psychological terrain. The mind doesn't operate merely on logic, it runs on conviction. Belief shapes perception, and perception shapes experience. If you believe the world is full of opportunity, your brain filters your experience to align with that frame. If you believe your efforts are destined to fail, the same thing happens. Your attention narrows, your actions diminish, and you begin to unconsciously sabotage yourself. Not because you are weak, but because the mind always works to confirm its dominant belief. This is why belief is not something to be taken lightly. It is one of the most creative forces available to you. Belief activates the subconscious mind. It sends a signal, a kind of psychological instruction, to your deeper mental faculties, inviting them to align thought, emotion, and behavior toward the outcome you hold as possible. This is not motivational fluff. This is how the human psyche functions. Napoleon Hill called this faith, and he did not mean it in the religious sense, but in the personal, internal, psychological sense. Faith in this context is belief in action. It is belief applied. And it is built through repetition, through reinforcement, and through exposure to empowering thoughts and associations. What you repeatedly tell yourself matters. If you feed your mind with fear, doubt, and defeat, your belief system will reflect that. If you train your mind to see possibility, to speak the language of confidence, progress, and resilience, your belief becomes stronger. It becomes durable. And once belief becomes durable, your capacity for achievement expands. Belief also gives you the resilience to deal with failure. Because let's be clear, to pursue any meaningful goal is to encounter setbacks. You will fail, you will be misunderstood, you will face doubt from others, and sometimes from yourself. But if you believe in the vision you've conceived, truly believe, you will not be deterred. That belief acts as a psychological immune system, protecting your commitment from being infected by discouragement or short-term disappointment. And here's the beautiful irony. Belief is both the cause and the effect of progress. The more you believe, the more you act. The more you act, the more results you see. And the more results you see, the stronger your belief becomes. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. But someone must choose to light the match. Someone must say, I believe this is possible, even when there's no proof. That someone is you. We live in a world that often demands proof before permission. But belief operates in reverse. It gives permission before proof. It says, this may not exist yet, but I believe it can, and I will walk toward it anyway. Kind of belief bends reality. It's the kind of belief that built cities, cured diseases, launched movements, and transformed lives. So I'll leave you with this. Belief is not a luxury. It is not a bonus. It is a requirement. If you have conceived something powerful, something meaningful, something that stirs your soul, then do not dismiss it with doubt. Dare to believe in it, because belief doesn't just make things likely, it makes things possible. And here's the beautiful irony. Belief is both the cause and the effect of progress. The more you believe, the more you act. The more you act, the more results you see. And the more results you see, the stronger your belief becomes. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle, but someone must choose to light the match. Someone must say, I believe this is possible, even when there's no proof. That someone is you. We live in a world that often demands proof before permission. But belief operates in reverse. It gives permission before proof. It says, this may not exist yet, but I believe it can, and I will walk toward it anyway. And a belief bends reality. It's the kind of belief that built cities, cured diseases, launched movements, and transformed lives. So I'll leave you with this. Belief is not a luxury. It is not a bonus. It is a requirement. If you have conceived something powerful, something meaningful, something that stirs your soul, then do not dismiss it with doubt. Dare to believe in it, because belief doesn't just make things likely, it makes things possible. At this point, we've explored how the mind conceives an idea, how belief gives it substance, and how action begins to build the bridge between the internal vision and external reality. But there's one more truth that underpins it all, one that is often overlooked, and perhaps the most liberating of them all. The potential to achieve does not reside in a chosen few. It resides in you, in all of us. Greatness is not inherited. It's not reserved for the wealthy, the well-connected, or the genetically fortunate. It is a capacity embedded in every human being willing to claim it. This is not sentimental optimism. It is a fact of history and human psychology. Every towering achievement, every world-altering invention, every revolution of thought or technology began with someone who was, at one point, ordinary. They were unsure, under-resourced, often underestimated, and yet they chose to engage their mind, their belief, and their effort. That choice, made persistently over time, is what turned them into the individuals we now admire. The real barrier, then, is not circumstance. It is self-permission. Most people never rise to their potential not because they lack opportunity, but because they disqualify themselves in advance. They look at their past, their limitations, their environment, and they decide, consciously or not, that achievement is for someone else, that success lives somewhere beyond their reach. But let's challenge that idea right now. Because here's the truth. Your mind, your imagination, your capacity to believe and act are just as powerful as anyone else's. The difference lies not in what you were given, but in what you decide to do with it. Your potential is not a fixed trait. It is a process of unfolding. It expands as you engage it. It deepens as you stretch it. And it reveals itself only when you commit to walking the path, even when you don't feel ready. There's a profound psychological shift that happens when you begin to see yourself not just as someone with potential, but as someone responsible for it. Responsibility. Because once you recognize that your life is not dictated by fate, but shaped by choice, you reclaim power. And that power isn't theoretical. It is practical. It means you are never truly stuck. You are never permanently defined by your failures, your background, or your current limitations. Every day you are given a choice to rise or to retreat, to create or to conform. Philosophically, this speaks to the nature of human agency, the freedom to shape one's own existence. We are not machines, nor are we victims of destiny. We are creators. Even in difficult circumstances, even when the odds seem impossible, you still retain the most sacred of human abilities, to imagine a better life, to believe it is possible, and to begin acting toward it. What this means then is that achievement is not external validation. It's not a trophy or a title. It's the fulfillment of your own potential, whatever shape that may take. For one person, it might mean building a business. For another, it might mean healing a broken family, writing a novel, becoming a leader in their community. There is no single definition. There is only this question: are you becoming more of who you are capable of being? That is the true measure of success. And here's something vital to understand. The moment you begin walking toward your potential, others are affected. You give silent permission to those around you to rise as well. You become an example, living proof that achievement is not mythical, but real and attainable. That's how movements begin. That's how change spreads, not from the top down, but from the inside out, one awakened individual at a time. So if you've conceived a vision, and if you believe it's possible, and if you've begun to act on it, then know this: you are already on the path. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to wait until you feel more ready, more qualified, more deserving. You are deserving now. Not because you've earned it, but because you are human, and the human mind is the most powerful tool ever known. That alone qualifies you. You are capable. You are worthy. And you are needed. Because the world does not simply require more people who dream. It requires more people who believe, who act, and who understand that achievement is not a gift. It is a decision. So I leave you with this: don't wait for greatness to find you. It already lives within you. Claim it. Cultivate it. Become it. Because whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. If you are willing to rise,